from an Airstream somewhere in Tornado Alley, bringing you the people, places, and stories from the Panhandle to the Red River. This is your Only in Oklahoma show.
And welcome to the show. If you've lived in Oklahoma or flown into OKC, then you know the name Will Rogers. But do you really know the man? Today we are talking to the director of Will Rogers Museums, Will's Country Christmas in Oologah on December 6th and 7th. I'm Brett.
And I am Harley, finally.
Finally.
Yeah, it took me 7 minutes to become Harley on this particular episode.
And it only took you 8 minutes to be a jerk. All right, so... Hey, speaking of Claremore and Oologah area, we're headed to Claremore tomorrow.
Tamales.
That's right. Dickens on Boulevard.
We are going.
We are, and we've been cordially invited to attend the Tops Tour, which I'm not 100% sure what we're getting ourselves into, but we've been invited by Claremore to come along. So, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Is this like a shirts and skins kind of thing?
Gosh. I don't know. What's the weather going to be? That's going to determine what side I'll be on.
Well, I mean, we're going on the tops part, so hopefully we get to wear them because it's going to be chilly.
It's Tales from the Tops, to be more specific. So that's going to be happening at 6 p.m. We'll be hanging out. Come find us. Come look for us.
Yes, do that.
Please. Come find us if you're out there. We'll be out there all day.
Yeah, it looks to be a lot of fun. We're going to be spending some time with the family, doing some family activities.
Making a lot of stops along the way.
We probably will make more than our fair share of stops between here and there.
Yeah, we need to plot the bathroom break.
Yes.
What is that? The trip. We need TripAdvisor to tell us where all the good, clean bathrooms are between here and Claremore.
So apparently, though, we're kind of stuck in Claremore for a while, it looks like.
I don't know if anybody else wants us right now. We're not getting, the universe isn't directing us anywhere further.
It's boiling down to the Only in El Reno, Guthrie, and Claremore show.
Well, yes. Oklahoma, I ain't heard back from you yet. I'm still trying to stake a claim in between here and there, but yeah, we're doing a lot of, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Feel like maybe we should move on to Claremore.
Once again, there's more in Claremore.
And that's coming up right after this.
All right, 6 goes into 7. 1 is... God, I'm so frustrated. I'm scared to death. I'm an independent contractor, and I don't want to get punched in the jimmy by the IRS.
Brett, why don't you give our buddy Justin over at the Holliday Tax Group a call? One of their specialties is tax preparation and planning. And then on top of that, if you have a run-in with the IRS, they're going to have your back.
Perfect. But how do I find them?
You can reach them at holidaytaxgroup.com. And if the independent contractor thing works out for you, they also do estate planning. So they got you back on that one as well.
Oh, thank goodness. Thanks for the advice. That's holidaytaxgroup.com. Holiday with 2 L's. He's a former Oklahoma legislator, a former TU Hurricane quarterback, a master of Will Rogers trivia, and the director of the Will Rogers Museums in Oologah and Claremore. It's Tad Jones. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Well, thanks for finally we got one nailed down.
Yeah, it took us a little bit, but thrilled to be a part of it and talk about some stuff we got going on.
Absolutely. So, Tad, just to jump right in here, you are the executive director of the Will Rogers Memorial Museums. Can you tell us a little bit about the museums?
We're, Will Rogers was a huge star. It's kind of hard for us to maybe fathom how big he was today with all the pop culture stars that we have all over the country and the world. But, in his day, he was number one in everything. He was number one in radio, number one most read newspaper columnist. He was number one in movies in 1934. He's number one box office star. He was number one public speaker. Everybody heard about Will Rogers, read about Will Rogers. And so when he died tragically in 1935, the whole country was mourning. And the Oklahoma legislature stepped up and built a beautiful Will Rogers Memorial in Claremore, which was on some property that Will Rogers had bought in 1911, he and his wife, to maybe build a retirement home. So the Oklahoma legislature built this beautiful museum in 1938. It's been here ever since. And since then, we've Will Rogers was, of course, born in Indian Territory in 1879 near Oologah, and we took over that property. It became a historic site, and so I managed the Will Rogers Memorial in Claremore as well as the Birthplace Ranch, which is about 120 or 30 acres in Oologah. So those are the two properties that we have, and so it's just great to share Will Rogers with kind of a new generation of people.
You know, you think of Will Rogers and you look at kind of some of the things that he said and some of the things you almost feel like he was so far ahead of his time. I mean, we were reading quotes and going, that fits today. That fits today. He was just such a trailblazer, and he got away with so much of the things that he said that today they would probably hang him from, I don't know, the tallest building.
Well, and the way he did it was he never did it with any malice, and I think that's probably a difference than today. A lot of people say things, and they've already got their side that they're choosing politically, Republican or Democrat or whatever. But, Will Rogers spoke at the Republican and Democrat conventions. Who could do that today?
Oh,
nobody could.
No.
And you're right. His quotes are timeless. And, you've heard of Mark Twain's quotes and different ones that he had done. But Will Rogers, he really had an analysis of politics, and he joked about it. And people loved, Republican and Democrats loved it when he poked fun at them because, again, he didn't do it with any malice. He complimented people. Usually when he attacked the institution. And I think one of my favorite quotes from him, especially right now, is the Senate opens with a prayer and closes with an investigation. If you think about politics today, I mean, it's a nonstop investigation. Of course, he said that, 90 years ago. And it's, and it gives me some comfort. I always say, when you hear what Will Rogers said about how crazy politics was, we think, boy, this is what's going on today with politics. Well, that quote right there, they were investigating everybody and everything back then as well. And, we got through it back then and went through some tough times, and here we are today, and hopefully we'll get through it all again. But that part of his wisdom from 90 years ago and more gives us comfort today about how crazy the political world could be.
Yeah, such sage wisdom, almost like prophecy almost. I mean, it's so commonplace right now. And, he could poke as many bears as he wanted because he was Will Rogers. I mean, the guy was gold to everybody.
Yeah, it really was. And, one of his first jokes in front of the president was Woodrow Wilson. Talked about government red tape, and he was real nervous about doing a joke in front of the president. After he did his joke, everybody kind of looked at Woodrow Wilson to see what he would do, and he laughed. And so that helped Will Rogers have a comfort level that he could make jokes about the political world and right in front of them. And again, they didn't take it as meanness. And when he was talking about government red tape, that's exactly what was happening. I mean, there were issues with government red tape that wouldn't let them do what they needed to do, and he said it in a manner that people could have a good laugh at and not get offended by. I don't know if necessarily it was the time that he said it that people don't get as offended then as they do now, because there were people that got offended back then too. But he had built so much credibility, people as being their friend and shaking their hand and not being angry with them or talking behind their back and just being a kind person to most people, that he could say the things that, if I said it might get in trouble, but Will Rogers would say it and get away with it. And I think what's kind of funny sometimes too, we'll put his quotes on our Facebook page or Twitter or something, and people will think I'm bashing Trump or bashing Obama. We're going, no, that was Will Rogers. Will Rogers said it a long time ago, and just wait till tomorrow and he'll get the other side. But that's just the way that he was. He had a great common sense about him.
It's funny you mentioned putting his quotes on social media. I'm willing to bet any amount of money that he would slay the internet if he could keep it within the right number of characters. Twitter would be, he would just be, I wouldn't even want to go against that guy. Not a chance.
Yeah, he did. He had so many that he'd do, and we go through his dailies and pick some out. And when they were having all the Supreme Court stuff last year, we were finding quotes about the Supreme Court that fit perfectly. And, he just, for almost any time period or any country that's being talked about, Will already said something about it that almost ties directly into today. So it's a lot of fun looking up some of those quotes and throwing them out there and seeing people's reactions. I'll get phone calls every now and then and say, why are they using his quotes to, trash Republicans? And I'll just say, wait till tomorrow. He's got the great quote about the Democrats where he said, I'm not a member of any organized political party. I'm a Democrat, and, so he's got them on all over the board on both sides. And again, he just joked about the institutions for the most part. And when he did talk about people, it was almost always in a positive way.
My favorite quote, and then I would really like to talk about some of your exhibits, but my favorite quote from Will Rogers is, "It's a good thing we don't get all the government we pay for." I think that's more poignant than almost anything he ever said. But he did write almost 3,000 newspaper articles.
Yeah, it's incredible how much he did. You know, he first started writing weekly articles, which would make him kind of the first blogger of our time. And then he took a trip over to England, and the New York paper said, "Hey, why don't you do a daily while you're over there and tell us about your trip?" From that day on, 1925, all the way until the day he died, he was writing a daily article. He'd grab the typewriter and spit it out sometimes right before deadline and hand it to the courier to take it to the Western Union, and then they would go and put it, to the newspapers all over the country. And so every day people were picking up, and like you kind of mentioned, that he'd be a perfect Twitter person. I mean, every day they were looking to see what his tweet was about what was going on during the day, and they all read it. And again, that's why when he died, the entire country mourned, because they were all getting Will Rogers from some form or fashion. And, you think about people like Conan O'Brien today and those guys, and they've got an army of writers that write their comedy every day. Well, Will Rogers did it every day, and it was all Will Rogers. Nobody wrote lines for him. And that's another thing that I think that is just incredible. And a lot of times in the movies, he would ad-lib, lines in the movies, and they very seldom, if ever, edited his lines out. The people he acted with just had to learn what the cue was from Will, basically when he stopped talking, because he could ad-lib and make it funnier than anything anybody else would write. So that's an amazing trait he had.
Well, one thing I think, one of my quotes that I like of his, and it, I wish I could just say it to as many people as I can, is never miss a good chance to shut up. I mean, there's so many keyboard samurais, and everybody's got, and social media gives you the right of passage, I guess, to have an opinion. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had somebody like him that could just shut people down. And that's all he would do, is just kindly shut people down.
Well, it's fun right now, too, when you see all the interviews at the House of Representatives, because his statue is right there. It's facing the House of Representatives. And if you'll turn on, any of the channels, Fox or MSNBC, and there's an interview, a lot of times you'll see Will Rogers' statue looking right down on them as they're making their commentary. And, of course, most people don't recognize who that is in the background. Of course, all of us, every time we see something, there's Will Rogers right over their shoulder watching them make all these comments. And it's a lot of fun.
All right, Ted. So, we could talk history with Will Rogers. Probably we could do a series of it. But more importantly, the museums. You've got one in Claremore, one in Oologah. How do those connect? What can we expect?
Well, I've been the director here for about 5 years. And, of course, Will Rogers has been gone a long time, since 1935. And, for 40 years or so, people came to Will Rogers Memorial to pay their respects. And it was just pretty much that, a memorial. But over time, we've added, people did paintings of him and carvings of him, and that started to fill our museum up. And the family gave us a whole bunch of his items and saddles and different things and hats. And so we've got those on display too. But, we're at generations that know very little about Will, but yet we're here on Route 66 and we still get 30,000 visitors a year. We have people traveling from all over the world that stop by. We're trying to teach Will to a new generation, and I've got 4 kids. So, when I got here, we had a couple of events that we did, but I really started trying to add a lot more activities to get people in the museum to learn about Will's life. We just had our very first motion picture festival a couple of weeks ago around Will's birthday. He was born on November 4th, 1879, and his joke was that his mom wasn't allowed to vote because she was a woman, so she had nothing to better do on election day, so that's why he was born on election day, November 4th. So, he was joking about everything. But we've got 2 beautiful facilities that we manage. The memorial, of course, is more modern and about his life as a celebrity, and the birthplace is about his life and where he was born, his activities. We do a lot of 19th century activities out there. And we wanted to have an event out there around Christmas time, that what we call Will's Country Christmas, which is a really fun event to get people out of the house and come out and just have a nice, relaxing, family fun activities at the birthplace.
Are you finding that the tourists are becoming younger?
Well, we do have some young ones that come in, but right now, for the most part, we get a lot of bus travel, and these bus travelers are Route 66ers for the most part. Like we had 2 buses here yesterday. Those are seniors that do come in, but we do have a lot more kids that come for different activities and events. We just had our Kids Day a couple of weeks ago, and we had 400 or 500 kids coming through with different activities. We did Halloween. We opened up for that, and we had almost 1,500 people that came to the museum. But the visitors that are just kind of traveling around, they're all over the board, but a lot of them are bus groups and tour groups. And we've had big Corvette groups that came through, and these motorcycle folks from Sweden, that every year they start in Chicago and go all the way to California that stop in. And they have a lot from Australia and New Zealand. And we're starting to pick up from China as well that are getting more people that are coming and visiting. But that international travel of Route 66 really brings a lot of people to the museum.
That's actually really incredible. I didn't realize that it was that much foot traffic from the international scene. I really just made the assumption that Route 66 is a United States kind of thing, and that was the people celebrating it and exploring it.
Well, people are looking for that authentic America, and I think I've heard Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell use this quite a bit. Oklahoma is about as authentic America as you can get, and Route 66 is a major part of that. And, back in the 50s, they even nicknamed Route 66 the Will Rogers Highway, so we've got a little bit of a tie in there in appreciation of Will. But it is. We get them from all over. The Germans love Route 66, and I just had a gentleman we talked to on Friday that was here from South Africa. So lots of those travelers that are coming through, they love the route. From Miami to Clinton, Oklahoma's got so much to do on Route 66, and we're thrilled that we're just a mile west of the route because we have all those people that stop in and visit it.
All right, Tad. So you mentioned we touched on the festival a little bit, but you've got that coming up here pretty quick. Can you tell us a little bit about the Christmas festival that's going to be happening out there?
Yeah, we've got it's called Will's Country Christmas. We started about 5 years ago, and there are these rumors out there that Dry Gulch was going to close down. I don't know if you'd ever been out there or not, but Dry Gulch put on just the best Christmas event. It was out in Church on the Move in Tulsa, put it on, but it was way out near Pryor. They had this old western town, and oh man, it went on for a month, and just tons of activities that were on out there. And anyway, they started to close it a couple of years ago. We said, we need a kind of a small version. We can't be as big as they were, but we can have a small version of that. So about 5 years ago, we started our first Will's Country Christmas and had, maybe 100 people that came out. We did it the next year, and it was cold and drizzly, and about 100 people. We thought, I wonder if we should do this again. So we said, let's do it one more time. And we did. And then we had about 1,000 people come out. And now it's gotten pretty big where we'll have between 12 and 1,500 people that'll come out on a Friday and a Saturday night. We have so many activities out there now. We've got vendors that are selling their wares before Christmas. We got food trucks that'll be out there. We have pony rides. We have camel rides. We have Santa Claus, which you can take a picture with Santa inside of Will Rogers, the room that he was born in.
Oh, wow.
Inside the house, which is pretty unique. And we have this great hay ride called with the Tri-State Gunfighters. And they ride down into the bottoms down by Oologah Lake, and you get this Wild West show. And we've got crafts for the kids, and we got live music. And what's great about it, it's all free except for the hay ride. So you can come in, bring the family, and all the rides and everything is free. We've got some great sponsors that support kids' activities. And the only people that have to pay anything for activities for adults, they'll pay $5 to ride the hay ride, but the kids get to ride that for free. So it's really a fun day. It's December 6th and 7th from 5 to 9, so it's right after work. You can come in as long as it's a little, even if it's a little cool. Hopefully it doesn't snow on us. We've had some nice weather for the last couple of years, so it's just a nice, relaxing family activity.
Well, Tad, you basically answered all of our questions. I guess it's see you later. I don't know. We're going down the list going, check, you got it.
Yeah, you do have to pay for the food trucks too, but we have some great food trucks. We'll have 5 or 6 of those out there, and hot chocolate and coffee. And I don't know if you've ever been to Oologah or not. It's just north on Highway 169, north of Tulsa. Go through Owasso, and then look for the signs for the Will Rogers Birthplace. We're about 2 miles outside of Oologah, where Will was born. He was actually born where Oologah Lake is. But when they were building Oologah Lake, they cut the house in half and moved it up the hill, and then Oologah Dam was put in, and the lake rose up because his dad had 60,000 acres at one time of property for cattle ranching all across that area, the Verdigris River and the valley. So it's a beautiful, beautiful place out there, and it makes for a real nice setting. And his house is called the White House on the Verdigris, which Will did not wasn't raised exactly poor. His dad was very well-to-do, a very influential Cherokee politician as well. Rogers County that we're in was not named after Will Rogers. It was named after his dad, Clem.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because he was there in 1907. You know, we just celebrated, what was it, yesterday, I think, the signing of, from Teddy Roosevelt, the statehood. And Clem, Will's dad, was there at the signing, or there for the Constitutional Convention for the state of Oklahoma. Very influential guy. And he was a little disappointed in Will because he didn't think Will had made much of himself. Will just wanted to play games and rope the girls and goof off in school and get demerits. You know, we probably had him had ADD today, you know, and on Ritalin, but back then he just was running all over the place with lots of energy. And but his dad was a little disappointed in Will. But then Will got into showbiz, and the rest is history. So it's just a beautiful little home that we have at. And, you know, if you get a chance to come out on either Friday or Saturday night in December, we'd love to have you come out to Will's Country Christmas.
So, Tad, how far between the two facilities, how far is Oologah to Claremore, you know, as far as travel time?
It's about 12 minutes to get from here to there. So, you know, it's not too far away, but from Claremore, if you're coming that way, you just get on Highway 88 up towards Oologah, and you can drive a little bit back in the country a couple of miles to get to it. So you got to watch for your signs. But we're not too far away. We'll have a lot of people that come in and go to both places. We have a lot of schools as well that'll bring bus loads of kids, and they'll go to the birthplace. And we have a great group called the Hands-On Historians, which they'll do 19th century activity like butter churning and corn husk dolls and corn grinding, things that kids, you know, don't see today. We try to get them off their cell phones for a little while and their tablets, and, you know, play some games, pick up sticks and jacks and things that they did back in those days as well. So a little chance to go back in time. That's another activity we have out there, is 19th century games for kids to play as well. So it's a chance for you just to get away and leave the electronics at home and just have a good time with your family.
Well, I played jacks a lot when I was a kid. I had a lot of caregivers that survived the Depression, but I also played jacks because I was too poor for electronics.
Yeah.
Now every
That's
other
a good
kid,
game. Yeah.
now even kids with no money have them. So yeah, it's give me some 19th century games.
Yeah, well, that's what we did. We started playing with the kids, and they want to buy them and take it home with them. So, you know, it's mind activities and hand-eye coordination and just all kinds of fun stuff that doesn't run your electric bills up.
Yeah, many years ago, I went as a kid. My great aunts took me up there. I was born in Claremore, so I'm guessing that's probably why they wanted me to go up there. I did the museum, and I remember going. I'm 100% sure I went to his home. But I don't know how off limits it was back then or how open it is today. As far as going to his birth home on a Monday afternoon, how hard is it to get a tour?
Well, we have a couple of gentlemen that are up there, kind of manage the place for a long time. You know, we just have Will Jr. in the background that's telling the story, and a lot of times we wouldn't have anybody up there at all. You just go there and you could hear Will, and you'd walk around the grounds. And when you went inside the house, you can't get in any of the rooms because a lot of that furniture and stuff, it's not all original.
Right.
But it's all sensitive. You know, some of it did come from parts of Rogers families here and there. We have a couple of original pieces in there, but we don't let people upstairs, which is something we're really wanting to do. People always want to go upstairs, but those stairways are real narrow and those kind of things. But it's just a neat little house to kind of look at, to see how Will Rogers lived back then. And the house grew over time. When he was born, they added some wings onto it and put the upstairs, and Will used to sleep up on the porch there at the house. And so, but it's just a beautiful view overlooking the lake. We have people that'll do weddings out there and take pictures. It's just a very picturesque place.
Well, it really seems like the area has been making some giant strides in making it more friendly or more open, more fun to come to the area. And I feel like your organization is actually a big part of that. It feels like you're a lot of the impetus for kind of I don't even know the word I'm looking for. Just the camaraderie,
history. I think history is important, and I think we're losing sight of, especially Oklahoma history. There's so many things in the you look in the Oklahoma history book, they might brush across Will Rogers. There's a lot of things they don't even talk about in Oklahoma history, and I think you're doing God's work up there, bringing it back and pushing it forward into the future, and it's just a great idea.
Well, and he's an inspiration. One of the things that I've tried to do with Will as well is we talk about, you learn, you laugh, and you be inspired, because here's a guy that came from he was in Indian Territory back then. He did come from a good, a very well-to-do family, but he had no vision in his life. He had no plans of what he wanted to be other than just a cowboy. And a door opened up where he had a talent, and he used that talent. And the next thing you know, it just kept growing. And so we tell kids, hey, you don't have to, where you have a kind of an idea right now, you don't know what door's going to open. Just do the best that you can.
Absolutely.
That's what Will ended up doing. He wanted to be the best that he could in whatever he went into. And even though he was having fun with it, just learning to be a roper and roping people, he became the best at it. And that opened up a door, and which opened up more doors. And so that is part of our mission is inspiring these kids. And like you said, in Oklahoma history, it's we get the third graders that come in, which is great. But I also want to get the middle and the high schoolers to come in and see what Will Rogers is all about, what he meant to this country, what he did with his life. And so, there's nothing wrong with dreaming big and doing your best. And you never know what's going to happen in your life.
Well, Tad, so let me ask you, what's the best way to get information about the museum, more information on Will Rogers, and in your events that you have coming up?
Our website's pretty easy. It's just willrogers.com, and I'm glad we got that early. But we do have that. That's our URL is willrogers.com. So you can go there. You can learn a little bit about Will Rogers. We have all our upcoming events up there as well. We got some great videos about Will as well. We got a great gift shop. So just go to willrogers.com. You can see activity. We started showing a Will Rogers movie in our brand new. We have a theater that was built in '82, but we just renovated. It's really nice. And we'll show a Will Rogers movie once a month, the last Friday of the month, and that's gotten real popular. People can see that. It's good, clean. We have people from all over Northeast Oklahoma that'll come now because they can just watch a good, clean family movie on a Friday night. It's free popcorn and drinks. So those kind of activities that we have, pictures with Santa Claus, spring break activities. We have a summer kids camp. It's all there on willrogers.com and seeing what events that we have.
So willrogers.com, just so people know, that's not where you're going to get the best deals on Southwest flights from here to Dallas.
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
That might be where their misconception comes in.
And it's spelled Rogers. It's amazing how many people they'll think of, Roy Rogers or, want to throw that D in there.
Yeah.
We still have people that come in and want to know where Trigger is. And no, that's a different Rogers. Will Rogers, not Roy Rogers.
Right.
So, you get some of that here and there. But, that gives us a chance to share who Will Rogers was to him and why Roy Rogers wanted to change his name so he could have that name of a person that he respected in Will Rogers.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Tad. Again, we've jumped through some hoops, but I think we got the best guy for the job.
All right. Well, we sure do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll do it again someday.
So Tad Jones, he is the expert, the Will Rogers expert. I've learned more in the last 20 minutes than I've known my entire life, and I was born there, for God's sakes.
Yeah, he is basically the embodiment of the Will Rogers wiki page.
Yes, and, he's a quarterback. He knows how to run the show. And they're doing a great job up there. Like I said, if we don't go, we got to go by there this weekend. We got to at least slide by. If it's not Will's Christmas, but we've talked enough about him. We deserve to, we got to stop.
I agree 100%, but I almost feel like we've just got to turn around and go right back to Claremore on the 6th and 7th.
I know. In order to do it right, I feel like we're not doing it the way it ought to be done if we don't go back.
I agree. I just, there are so many things, so many awesome things to do in this state.
Yeah, and right now, Claremore you're punching in, folks. I mean, you're really putting it together up there. Just a great bunch of folks and a lot of things to do. So if you're in the area, you got it.
But okay, for starters, 100% free event. I mean, except for the one one thing and it was only adults have to pay and it was next to nothing $5 hay rides.
And then your food trucks, your extra add-ons. But yeah.
Yeah, but the activities are free
Mm-hmm.
and it's awesome and it's a great learning experience. And I'm sorry, but when you start talking about getting that authentic, traditional Oklahoma event.
Right. That 19th century Oklahoma clash with Christmas. I mean, history lessons, Santa Claus. Come on. What's not?
And I really feel like an ass about not realizing that Route 66 had the draw
that it does.
Well,
I had talked to a museum curator that's out in Clinton, and she had said a lot of the same thing happens to her. They get a lot of international traffic. So it does happen, but I don't think you hear about it near as often.
You don't. I definitely don't. I mean, I've lived here for 35 years.
Right.
And it wasn't even anything that ever entered into my brain that there are tour buses full of people from Japan who want to see Oklahoma and Route 66.
Now, it needs to be noted to people outside of here. Route 66 used to be the West Coast, the East Coast. You could drive it both ways all the way. It's broken up so much now that it's Route 66, but it's not quite Route 66. So the fact that people are taking it spot by spot and traveling it as far as it'll go. I mean, Paul McCartney a few years ago brought a Bronco over, like an old school Bronco, and drove the entirety of Route 66, what he could, stopped in Oklahoma City, stopped, up in that area.
Yeah, he stopped by my place.
Yeah, I know. He did. Did you guys write any songs?
Yeah, like 2 or 3.
Like what? Imagine? No. Okay, right? So yeah, Route 66 is hugely popular, but I just don't think of it as something that I'm like you, that it's like this huge draw.
I thought it was a huge draw for people in the United States that had like nostalgic feelings about that road.
Yeah, never my wildest dreams would have thought that people from China would be over here hanging out.
Well, to change the subject just a scotch, I'm gonna shoot north a ways off of Route 66. One place that Route 66 definitely doesn't go is South Dakota.
Clearly not.
So we still have South Dakota as a dead zone on our download maps, and I think we figured it out.
What?
South Dakota has a new anti-drug campaign.
They do.
It's called South Dakota, We're on Meth.
This is as real as real gets. We would not make this up. Hell, I'm tempted for us to just post a link in the show notes to show that this is an actual thing.
No, actually, I think it was South Dakota. Meth, we're on it.
Oh, yeah. I can't explain it. That has to be why.
I think it is.
They're spending all their money on an anti-meth campaign, and they don't have time for podcasts. I don't know. But you have time for podcasts, folks. If you're listening to this right now, it's your duty to tell everybody you know about the Only in OK Show.
And if you have friends or family in South Dakota that you can't save from that state, then you should at least tell them to tune in to the Only in OK Show for an escape mentally.
I am almost 100% sure there's somebody on meth right now listening to this show.
But not in South Dakota?
Not in South Dakota. Well, you know where to find us. Facebook.com, OnlyinOKShow.com.
Absolutely. And we need some more suggestions. We're finding a lot of repeat business from a lot of the same towns.
Are we in a dead zone?
Well, I don't think so, and I don't have a problem with it. But the reason we're getting a lot of repeats as far as towns go is because we're building relationships in those towns. Absolutely. And those people are reaching back out to us and saying, hey, by the way, you need to talk to Tad about this event. Uh-huh. So we need you guys to let us know what we're missing. What events are coming up? What do we really need to go check out? Let's get some new cities in the rotation.
Look, the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses have been in business for years going door to door. What would it hurt to go door to door and tell them about us? Nothing. Their success rate is the same. I haven't answered a door in 30 years.
So if you have a short sleeve button-up shirt
with a bike
and a tie and a bike, you can spread the word of Only an OK Show. So share the show.
Sure.
On all of the social medias, it's Only an OK Show. This has been the Only an OK Show. If you like the show, share it. All of the social medias.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the Only an OK Show. I am Harley.
I'm Brett, but Sharon is also Karen.
And we're out. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Nope. Start that over. I kind of my tongue got stuck to the roof of my mouth. How? Huh. Okay.
Test.
With that whistle again. My mouth's starting to get dry when I get on the mic now. Nah.
It's your water.
Can't be.
It is your water.
No. It's been here since yesterday.
It's been here since Tuesday.
But I have an OCD that won't allow me to drink it. In a zombie apocalypse situation, you're going to put the lid on it and it's supposed to make it all go away? I'm going to disagree that it's my water and that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Okay. Welcome to the show. If you've lived in Oklahoma, or importantly, flown into OKC, then most assuredly, why did I put big words in an intro?
Hello,
okay.
friends.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome. No, I rushed right into it.
Whoa.
Wow. 3, 2, 1. Should I do it again?
Yeah, I didn't like a single bit of that.
I really have just a hard time reading that way for some reason. I don't like it. All right, let's just do this. Okay, I got it. Waiting on you, man. Waiting on you. 3, 2, 1.